Good morning, VC. Sunday morning here in the UK, and there is a bit of blue sky out there, and it isn't raining, which is always good. So this video is a response to Randell Weaver's 500 videos competition. So well done, Randell, 500 videos. This is number 3 for me, so you're a long way in front. And the subject is 10 albums I've listened to over 100 times. So I've watched Randell's video and I've watched Rob Walker's video, and then I've tried to not watch any of those until I've done my own, so that I don't deliberately pick things that they have not picked, if that makes sense. So yeah, so this is 10 albums I can confidently say I've listened to over 100 times, and these will go in kind of reverse order. So we'll start with some of the more modern stuff and then go backwards. So here's one that for me is modern, which is the Arctic Monkeys AM. And they've been out a few years now, and obviously they've changed direction significantly since this album. Maybe not as successfully on the first one, but the latest one, The Car, I thought was very good. But AM, I think they kind of reached a pinnacle here, and I think they wisely moved on. But this to me is an absolute modern classic. Of the bands of their era that came out in the 2000s, these guys are the ones that have gone on to kind of have a full career. The stuff that Alex Turner has done with The Last Shadow Puppets is also worth checking out, and I think he's immensely talented. This album is chock-a-block from start to finish with great songs, but it's a guitar-based production, but with a more modern kind of rhythm sound. So Are You Mine obviously is a classic. Do I Want to Know? Why Do You Only Call Me When We Get High? And there's the John Cooper Clarke cover at the end of Wanna Be Yours. Just a fabulous record from start to finish, that. So Arctic Monkeys at number 10. Definitely listened to that over 100 times. That was a car album as such. And then sticking with something a little bit more modern, who's gone on to have a fabulous career. This is Lana Del Rey's second album, Ultraviolence. I think, like everyone, I heard Video Games, Blue Jeans. So the debut album was one that I bought, but this was such a step up. It's produced by the guy from the Black Keys. Obviously called Ultraviolence, and this is again another fabulous album. From start to finish, this is just a great song. West Coast, Ultraviolence, the title track, just a brilliant album, very moody. I almost think she's a little bit like the female Morrissey almost. It's got her own kind of world that she inhabits, and is for me over and above everybody else that's around. And he's very prolific as well. So the last 3 albums all came out, I think, very quickly, and they're all really, really good. So fabulous career. So yeah, that's number 9. Over to the 90s. So this album I'm going to show next was 1994, and I know I think that was the year I may have had my first car CD player, and there were some albums that you just played over and over again. So 94 was a great year. There was Suede's Dogman Star, Manic Street Preachers' Holy Bible, but the one that kind of Blur's Park Life's another one, Pulp Isn't Hers, but the one that kind of had a seismic kind of effect on, I think, not so much musically, but in terms of what the expectations were for what was previously indie bands suddenly became mainstream. So obviously it's Oasis and Definitely Maybe. It's 30 years old this year, so I'll probably play this again more recently for the first time in a little while. But it's still a fabulous record, and it's hard to describe to people the effect that this had when it came out. It kind of, we went from the grunge era, where things were a little bit depressing, should I say, and this became like a call to arms, and it reflects the time, and I think that's all you can ask sometimes from albums. The vinyl editions never kind of sound that great though, unfortunately. I still think actually the way to this album's on CD, the first CD on Creation, just blast that out, and it holds up really well. The remasters aren't great, I don't think, but as an album you can't fault it. That one was a nice silver vinyl edition. So that was, I think, 8. coming in at 7 into the 80s. So the next album was for me what I'd call a headphone album. So I used to do a paper round as a kid, and I had the old Sony Walkman, and you'd record your albums onto a cassette, and this one became a lifelong favourite, and particularly the second side with the Ninth Wave. It's such a good record. Obviously, when Stranger Things hit and Running Up That Hill was featured in it, this album took over another lease of life. But for me, it's always been a constant album, and it's a bit like a comfort blanket. And if I put the second side on, I know for 20 minutes I can just immerse myself in that album. It's an absolutely fabulous album, and if you haven't got it, it's one that I think every collection should have. So Kate Bush and the Hounds of Love, great album. Number 6, I think we're at now. No surprise for those that know me. The final Smiths album. I'll do a proper video on the Smiths at some point, but this album, when it came out, because it came out after the announcement of the split, it kind of had a more of a poignancy than maybe some of the other records, and to this day I still think this is their best studio album. The spine of the record is just solid all the way through. So track 1, you've got a Rush and a Push and The Land Is Ours. The third track, Death of a Disco Dancer. You end side 1 with Stop Me If You Think You've Heard This One Before, which really should have been a single, but wasn't because of the Hungerford Massacre. Side 2 opens with what could be one of my favourite Smith songs, Last Night I Dreamt That Somebody Loved Me. That's just such a great track, particularly that doomy piano instrumental build-up, and then about 3 minutes in, it just explodes. That's a fab song. You got the most quoted song lyric of all time on halfway through side 1 in Paint a Vulgar Picture, Reissue, Repackage, etc. And then the final track, I Won't Share You, which I think is Morrissey's kind of love letter to Johnny Marr, is just one that gets you every time, but can't knock that album in any way, shape and form. Brilliant record. That's the Smiths. And then one I played so much in a game from 1987 that I think this is the second vinyl copy I bought. This is U2's The Joshua Tree. I don't really need to put any explanation for that, but I think post Live Aid, some bands benefited immensely from that concert. Obviously Queen come to mind, but I think the big winners of the more modern bands were U2, because I think everyone who saw that performance was waiting for this album, and it didn't disappoint. I saw them on this tour, and it's still, I think, to this day, my best ever gig I ever went to. The atmosphere was just unbelievable, and they still are, but they were an absolutely, band at the top of the tree when they did this record. So I don't really say much more about that, but that would be one of my 100 plus played. I think I've got 4 left, so therefore this must be number 4 then. Into the 70s. Don't need to say any more, do I? Big Pink Floyd fan, but I must have listened to this album, I don't know, about 100 times, could be 1,000 times. It's a perennial, isn't it? You just play it over and over again. So everything about that album is iconic. The sleeve, the gatefold, the record, it's just wonderful, isn't it? So Dark Side of the Moon. Number 3, another 70s classic, Spiders of Mars, David Bowie. You can't beat this, can you really? It was the first studio Bowie album I bought. I bought it on tape for about £1 from Woolworths, and it's still one that I play over and over. I think I've got about 6 copies of this, but it's a fabulous record. That one was a very nice gold vinyl edition. And the final 2, now this one is probably influenced a lot by my parents. This is my dad's copy, Tubular Bells, Mike Oldfield. I probably listen to this in the car on any kind of late night journey home that's of any length. I'll stick side 1 of this on and build up to Vivian Stanshall, because it's just such an iconic piece of music, from the introduction, which obviously was sampled for the Exorcist film, and then that crescendo when they go through all the instruments. So Tubular Bells, I will listen to that over and over again and never get bored of it. And then the last one, number 1, the only album from the 60s I've picked. Could have been half a dozen by the same band, but I've gone with the White Album. This one is a white vinyl copy. There you go. But this album is from the Beatles. Again, it's so varied. If I listen to it, it's an all the way through kind of job. It's so much variety, and it's got some darker stuff. It's got some weird stuff. It's just got everything, isn't it? So that would round out my top 10. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks to all those that have liked and subscribed so far. Still a fairly new channel, so hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch up with you on the other side. But thank you and goodbye. Do you want to be in the video too, do you? Hello, bonus caption.